What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Check Swing Podcast with myself, and of course, the brains and brawn of the situation, my man, Coach Santa, Coach Miguel Santa, who's down in
Baltimore, having big fun.
Absolutely. We are back. It is Wednesday. It is Hump Day. We are getting over the hump. And this week, it's been a week. This been a week. Okay. And it's only been 3 days. But we're here to talk about some sports, some of the things that's going on, of course, especially here in the Philadelphia area, as we are both Philadelphia area natives, Philadelphia sports fans, even though Miguel is down in
Baltimore, having big fun.
his heart is still here in Philadelphia. As you can see on his hat, he has the Philadelphia Stars hat. As you can see in his background, he has Eagles paraphernalia on the wall, along with his Baltimore Select baseball hat. Shout out to Vision Select.
Vision Select. Thank you very much.
Shout out to Vision Select in Baltimore. Shout out to you guys. But before we get started, you know how I like to do. I like to ask my folks how they been. So, Miguel,
Sure.
how you been?
One of the roughest weeks on record, but I pressed through all the way through. Special shout out to some dear friends of mine that helped the brother out. One friend in particular who might be watching. Thank you, Kiki. So,
Hey, Kiki.
hey, Kiki. Ding, ding.
Hey,
Ding,
Kiki.
ding.
You hang, Kiki. You hang. You hang. We like to have some fun on this show. So y'all already know this. We like to have fun on this show. We like to have a good time. So let's make sure we have a good time today. Of course, let's get through to some of the particulars. You can hit us up on the phone line at 727-731-8267. It's been a while since I said that number. We weren't on last week. I'll say it again, 727-731-8267. Of course, you can always hit us up on our 24-hour text line. That's 484-606-6061. And with all that being said, one of the best ways to reach us during the show is by go ahead and commenting in the chat, because we are here. In your chat, your comment can go live on air. Anyway, we're going to start off with a little bit of sad news. Former MLB star Garrett Anderson passed away, I believe, over the weekend. Miguel, you found the cause of, not that it was you had to go searching and had to call the coroners and stuff like that and the doctors, but you found out what the cause of death was, and you brought it to my attention before the show. So, can you please tell us what happened with Garrett Anderson?
So, based on what the Orange County Sheriff Coroner's Office stated today in USA Today Sports, or yesterday, I should say, he died as a result of pancreatitis. So, the cause of death was actually acute necrotizing pancreatitis. So, according to the Cleveland Clinic, this happens when the pancreas is so inflamed or inflamed so severely that it causes tissues to just die. So apparently his wife, who was nearby, thought he actually passed of a heart attack based on how he reacted. So but it was sudden. It wasn't something that was expected. So but he was a 3-time All-Star. He was on the team with that won their only World Series, the Los Angeles Angels. He was on that 2002 team that won the World Series, their only world champion. And I always remember him as being a very simplistic hitter, always hit to the opposite way. He was durable as well. I think 8 seasons where he played 156 games, so he was definitely durable and professional. And, he was one of those players that I always wish that the Phillies would have gotten, but we know how that went.
Yeah, Phillies never picked him up, and it would have been nice. It would have been nice, but hey, Philadelphia, or Anaheim. I mean, what you want to do? I think I'll stick with Anaheim, just weather wise. Weather wise.
I mean, that's what Trout's doing, but I mean, he's not going to be winning any titles anytime soon.
Yeah, he's not, and I think at this point he ain't even worried about it. As long as he can get back and go to Eagles games, I think he's good. I think he's all right. I think he might be satisfied. Plus, he gets hurt every year. I know he's sick
This
of
is
that too.
true.
And if you're gonna be hurt, you might as well be hurt in good weather.
This is true.
I'm just saying. Um, Rest in peace, Garrett Anderson. Um, Sad news out of the MLB. But sticking with the MLB, we got to talk about the Phillies.
Do
Unfortunately,
we have to?
we got it. We got to bring it as part of the title of the show. So I gotta, we gotta talk about the Phillies. We don't have to talk about them that long, but we gotta talk about them because this start to the season has not been ideal. I'll just say it that way. This start has not been ideal. They've lost 7 straight games. Going back to last week, I think did they get swept by the Giants?
Sure.
Yeah, swept by the Giants.
If they didn't, then they should have been.
Yeah, they might have won one. I think they took one from the Giants. I think they took the first one and then they lost the next two. They got swept by the Braves. Came home, got swept by the Braves, and went back to Chicago. Went out to Chicago and lost another one out there in Chicago last night. And they're playing. They're actually playing right now, and they are down 1-0 in the bottom, or excuse me, top of the second inning. Miguel, you're the baseball guy. I mean, we're both baseball guys, but like, you're the guy. If I have a baseball question, I come to you. And I don't know if you can answer this question I'm about to ask.
They suck.
Okay, I get maybe you can answer the question. The question was, what the hell is going on with the Phillies?
I mean, is it just the Phillies though? Because you got the Mets who spent some money in the offseason, and they got Bo Bichette. Um, mistake intended, and they are on a midst of a 13-game losing streak.
I think they're 12 right now. They're shooting for 13 tonight. I
Shooting for
think
13 in a row. Not so it's like it just seems like nobody wants to win the National League East. But it's one thing when like one or two players usually historically start off bad, but it seems like one day when they're hitting, then their pitching is not doing things, and then when they're pitching well, then their hitting just doesn't show up. They just seem like it's out of sorts. But I remember there was a quote from Rob Thompson this week, which is kind of a tell. He was saying to the media that, oh, we're not, we're trying our darndest or hardest or whatever you want to say. But I don't believe that they're pressing. They're just trying to work through everything and yada yada yada. But I kind of hear that they actually probably are pressing.
it got to be pressing. I think it's just natural as an
Mhm.
athlete, as a competitor, to in the
Well,
situation that they're in, they got to be pressing.
well, and then you got the issue with Bohm right now. Like Bohm's not even he's barely playing because of that family issue that he has. So for those that don't know or don't remember, I believe he's actually suing both of his parents
Oh, right.
because of he alleges that they mishandled his money or stole money from him, for lack of a better term. So
Mhm.
he's dealing with that, and then there was some outcry, or not outcry, but there was some debate because I think Bohm was going to be given the day off. I think Sosa was starting in his place, and he's only batting like 153 right now, but he brings him up as a pinch hitter with the bases loaded, like in seventh or eighth inning, and of course he doesn't succeed. So and I get you're trying to like get light a fire under him or whatever, but um, I don't know. I just have a feeling like this era of player might be kind of soft. Um, like I mean, other than maybe
What,
Harp,
and like what era? Just for clarity, what era are you comparing them to?
the era that you and I grew up in. So
I'm
like
talking.
here's all right. So here's how I can best compare it. Right, historically, right. Let's go back to before you and I were born. In late 1970s, the Phillies had three really good teams that always failed in the playoffs. Right.
Mm.
Then they went out and got arguably the best hitter in during that time. They went out and got Pete Rose. Right. The first year he was there, they actually didn't make the playoffs, but then the next year he kind of helped will them to with one of the greatest National League Championship series ever and get to their first World Series. So in '93, you had a team that was coming off of a last place finish. Phillies got some things together. We got what Pete Incaviglia, who was kind of a dog. Kurt Schilling was starting to become like the ace of the staff. You had Darren Dalton, who was like the anchor. But it's like, other than Bryce Harper, sometimes who's that dog that's going to be like, let me take you by the back, or take you over my shoulder, or whatever, and let's do this thing. Because even in his interviews, it's like, yeah, we're trying, we're doing things, we're just trying to do. But it's like, somebody needs to get pissed off, and unfortunately, the fall guy may be Rob Thompson. You know what I mean?
Who else would it
It's
be?
right, and it's a shame because I'm sure nice guy, but sometimes sometimes you need a shock value. So it's either going to be the coach or the manager, or it's got to be a big trade.
Mm.
And I listen, you know me, like I'm for Bryce Harper at times, but he came up small last year. Now he's starting to hit a little bit, but I'm like, maybe now's the time to trade him. Let's put it on the table.
Strike while the iron's hot.
Strike while the iron's hot, and I think that's what happened to the Phillies in the late 2010s. I think we kept everybody too long.
Mm.
First off, we called up everybody too late in their careers.
That to me that was the issue.
That you're right. So and we all know why, because the Phillies were still trying to win but be cheap. But
Mhm.
now that now it seems like they're trying to win at all costs. But it's like, you got to get rid of this nucleus. I think getting rid of Nick Castellanos was a start, because passive aggressive and all that ish. He's a California guy. Just get him out. But I think you may have to consider trading Bohm or packaging Bohm and maybe stop.
I think I think Bohm I think Bohm is gone very soon. It may not be this season, but I don't think Bohm is on the team next season. And I think that's because of the kid Aiden Miller coming up, third baseman. I mean, they've been talking about him maybe playing different position, but unless to me, and you tell me if I'm crazy, unless you're moving Bohm over to first base and Bryce somewhere else, maybe in the outfield, which I don't know, maybe left field, and then you move Aiden Miller to third. I don't see how, like, that's the only way I can really see how that fits. And still, you still have the issue of hitting the baseball, right? We don't know what Aiden Miller will be when he eventually makes it to the show. But you have the issue of hitting the baseball. Bohm still is, if he's on the team, he still has to hit the baseball. Bryce still has to hit the baseball. You talk about packaging maybe Stott and Bohm and some, but to me, I'm like, well, who wants that? Not that they're terrible, but like, I don't know what team is made better by that unless it's somebody just trying to unload somebody, like a bad team just trying to unload somebody and go and get. I think they will more so want prospects than Bowman Stott. Um, I'll be honest with you. I like Stott. I like Stott as a defender. I like Stott. I liked him more at shortstop than when we got Trey Turner.
Did you?
I did. I don't. I'm not saying I like him more at shortstop than second base. I just liked him. I liked him at short. Period. Like
I,
that's the end of the sentence. I liked him at
okay.
short.
Yeah,
Um,
I never liked them in short.
I liked him at short, and we got to a World Series with him at short. Now you bring in a guy, you pay him a lot of money, who's supposed to be a better hitter, who is a better hitter, um, to play the position. Made a lot of errors over there. Seems to have found the elixir for that for him. Um, but it's 3 years too late. Like it's 3 years later. I'm not really sure. Marlon Booker says, "I believe we need a coaching change as well as trade off. We need to give up on this current group of high priced players that aren't producing." That's a great opinion. I can't argue with that.
Mhm.
Um, the production ain't there.
Yeah, and again, I know I hate to say that it's only April, but we've been kind of saying this the last 2 or 3 years now. So it's like
Right.
not,
This
not
this feels like right now, currently, Phillies feels like 2 years ago when they started off hot and then the second half was just terrible. This
right.
feels like that second half right now to me.
Yeah.
Like this just has that feeling of like to me. I don't think they lost 7 straight games in that second half, but in that second half, to me, it felt like they were losing 7 straight games, and like I just have that same feeling now. Hit us up 727. Excuse me, I'll get it right. Hit us up 727-731-8267. You can also hit us up on our 24-hour text line at 484-606-6061. And of course, the best way, just as Marlon has done, to reach us is to put your comment in the chat. Here's another comment by Marlon. He said, "I believe the decline started when they moved Harper and let Hoskins go." I would agree with you there.
Mhm.
They've never replaced his bat in the lineup. Also, the mistake of signing Trey Turner, who was not worth his contract. I can't argue with anything he said there either.
So here's the thing. I agree. I agree with the fact that they didn't replace Hoskins, but I'm actually glad that they let him go because since he left Philly, he hasn't really been doing. I mean, yeah, he did. He made it to the playoffs with the Brewers for 2 or 3 straight years, but it wasn't because of him. And right now, I believe he's somewhere. Nobody, you have to look up where Hoskins is playing now. So I agree that you should have replaced his bat, but I'm actually glad that they let him go because he was a butcher at first base.
Here's my argument to that, and there's no right or wrong. Like we can't prove it. Who's to say
Right.
that he wouldn't have stayed with this good bat had he stayed in Philadelphia?
I mean, based on how everyone else is doing, he probably would have been.
That was and that was
Yeah.
that was going to be my next thing I was going to say is everybody else is doing bad too. So
Right.
I mean, I don't know, but he was a good um protector, I guess, for Bryce in the sense of the right hand bat.
Right.
Um, you had to strategize how you had to attack that lineup. You kind of do now, but you got the two back to back lefties that they got Pop Schwarber and Harper. They got Pop.
Mhm.
I would rather see Harper bat second and Schwarber bat third. Just personally, maybe I'm more of a traditionalist. Then you still have keep Garcia at the four spot.
Well,
Um,
and I mean that makes sense because Harper is also, he can make adjustments, or I mean, he's done in the past where he would hit against a shift, bunt against a shift. He'll do things to like adjust to try to get on base, so that does make sense. And if you're trying to make sure to get him out because you definitely don't want to face Schwarber next, so that does make sense. I'm just looking for the day. I think they need to just go ahead and just make Crawford the leadoff hitter.
I'm not mad at that opinion.
Because
Uh,
think about if you do so Crawford. Or you can do Trey Turner since he's your fastest guy, and you got your two fast. I mean, we're going back to tradition, right? So if you have Crawford batting leadoff, and then you have Trey Turner, who can be a good contact hitter, but if you got the runner on first already, who's speedy, now you're going to face more fastballs, right?
Yep.
Then you have Harper third, and then you got Schwarber fourth.
Mm-hmm.
So already 1-2. I mean,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, that you got your speed at the top to get your base runners. You already got the pitcher already anxious, and then you have two potential boppers. One if one missed, the other one to connect or whatever. Then you can have Garcia fifth.
And that's your 2008 lineup. That's your Jimmy, Shane, Chase, Ryan Howard. Um, um, don't tell me what was his name. Jason Worth.
Jason Worth, yeah.
You got have Trey, Crawford. You got Crawford, Trey, Bryce, Schwarber, Adolis Garcia.
I don't see anything wrong there.
We got to figure it out. Marlon Brooker says, when do we start looking at the hitting coach? I'm surprised that has not happened yet, to be honest with you. But it's
And
like I feel like the hitting coach must be doing something right. It's just when they get in the game, they're doing it wrong. Their chase rate is crazy.
They shouldn't look at the hitting coach at all, in my opinion. This is why. You remember when the Phillies started struggling after what 20 like the last 3 years under Charlie Manuel? Remember when they started struggling?
And they fired Milt Thompson.
They fired Milt Thompson. They hired some other douchebag, fired him after a year. I believe in a 6-year span, they went through 3 to 4 hitting coaches, right? So the result was the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because again, so
players too.
Right. And I know Kevin Long has a reputation. He came over from the Yankees. He came over. He was on the team that won the World Series for the Nationals. He was their hitting coach. So it's there. It's just what are the players doing that are causing these issues? Like, as you and I speaking as coaches, we can tell guys until we're blue in the face. If my guys are watching now, I've been telling you guys since blue in the face, right? Mm-hmm. Do this, and then the very next time it happens, they don't do it. Is that on me or is that on the player?
That's on the player.
So, and I know because they're making trillions of dollars, you can't really take it out on. And that kind of goes back to the whole theory of like, are the players soft? You know what I mean? Like with Castellanos, he pretty much said, I can't play with any coach that's never played Major League Baseball. So that means he would have never been able to play with like Tommy Lasorda, who I take that back. He actually made it to the big leagues, but he wasn't good. He wouldn't be able to play under like Tony La Russa or like, guys that were career minor leaguers but didn't make it to the big leagues. So screw him.
And a lot of the better coaches aren't big time pros in a lot of sports.
And it's because it's hard for them to translate going from being a player and a good player to teaching that. Some of them are just not. Think about it. Mike Smith's the greatest third baseman of all time. Why couldn't he coach?
Right.
And he actually attempted it. Like he did some internships where he would coach just in the spring. He said he hated
it. I think for star players, star players have that something more that can't be coached, right? Yep. And star players probably don't realize that can't be coached, right? Because they did it. It came naturally to them. They figure they can instill it in somebody else. Nah.
It's the reason why Joe DiMaggio, who was a manager for the Oakland A's, didn't win. It was the reason why Ted Williams, one of the greatest hitters of in history, was a manager for the Washington Senators, and he didn't win. It just doesn't always translate. I think the only one that was really truly successful, but he had a severe alcohol and womanizing problem, was Billy Martin. And he was an absolute genius, but he just had these demons that kept creeping up, and then coaching in New York, you know what I mean? But it's very difficult for stars to for that to translate. So, but getting back to Marlon's point, like, it's easy to ask the coach when it's the players, but I know that sometimes you need to do something drastic to get the players kind of like, okay, we messed this up, let's do this. But seeing what the Phillies did when they kept everybody too long back in the early 2010s, I'm all for trying to do trades first, then getting rid of the coach. But I would be okay with firing Rob Thompson, considering that you have Don Mattingly, who's been a manager.
Another Yankee. Think about it. Think about Joe Girardi.
This is true.
Kevin, what's his name? The hitting coach?
Hold on. Joe Girardi's a fake, and it's been proven.
But he came from the Yankees. Joe Girardi, Yankee. Rob Thompson.
He was a fugazi.
Yankee. Kevin, whatever the hitting instructor's name is. Kevin
Long. Kevin Long.
Kevin Long. Thank you. Yankee. Like, they all come from the Yankees, and it's not working out it worked for them in New York. It worked for them when they had Jeter and Matsui and A-Rod.
See, but you see, you're proving my point. You see, it's the type of players. Mm-hmm. Like right now, Jazz Chisholm, who's a great player. I think somebody did an interview because they know how he is. They said, "Can you tell us when you see a player that's better than you?" And I think they put up like Ellie De La Cruz, like all these other players. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I think I'm better than all these players." And then he went out the next day and was like, "Yeah, I think I will be the next 50-50. I will be the second 50-50 man ever." And then he proceeded to strike out 3 times.
Well, I mean, what's he supposed to say? When you're a competitor and you're at that, like, you're not going to go out there.
You're gonna see. So you want him to say, even though he's never hit 50 home runs, he's never hit 40 home runs, he's barely hit 30 home runs once or twice. You want him to go out and say that he's gonna be better than Ohtani, and then be amongst the legends when everybody sees your game. Let
me counter your question with a question. Do you want somebody on your team that's admitting that these other players are better than him?
I want a player that doesn't care if another player is better than them, but they know how to win. That's all I want. Okay. Because ultimately, you're not saying that this player is better than me. You're just saying this player. He's a great player. I don't care what he says about that. I want to see results on the field.
But from what you were telling me, the question was, stop. What was it? Stop me when you see somebody that's better than you. Is that what the question was?
Yeah. You know what it is?
I'm not stopping anybody.
When it got to Ohtani, he still didn't say anything.
So what? I need somebody that has that confidence. Like, you have to have confidence.
And I get it. Justin, I get it. I want to have the person have that confidence. I do. But you got to be good to have that confidence. You can't be you can't be all right, man, look. On my team, I got the shortstop, right? He's a great, like, I don't want to puff him up, but I don't think he has the mentality to think like that. He's a really good defensive shortstop, but he also has the attitude for it. And, we were talking the other day, and one of the dads was telling me that somebody had I think he was actually talking to another player, and he literally told him, was like, "Listen, don't come my way no more. I'm gonna punch you in the nose." Now, number one, I know that he would do it. And number two, he can back it up with his glove, he can back it up with his arm, and he can back it up with his bat. That's confidence, but that's also respect. Jazz Chisholm said all that crap, struck out 3 times the next game, the same day, and then I believe he threw to the wrong base, expecting a different some sort of result. He's a he's not a dumb baseball player. I'm not going to say that, but in this era, this is the difference between the era of today's player and the player that we're used to growing up with. They talk before they work. You think what I'm saying? They say what they are. They put themselves on this mantle, and I'm not going to go too deep, but I believe I believe that kind of starts at home because of what you and I have always experienced in coaching. But they're on this mantle, this self-professed mantle, and then God forbid you tell them, "Look, you're not as great as you think you are. You can be, but you got to put the work." And then you don't see them anymore because they won't put the work in. Because I guarantee you, when Jazz Chisholm said that when he didn't make that comment and he basically was saying he was better than Ohtani, I bet you he didn't put in the work that Ohtani does.
Probably nobody has because obviously Ohtani is the best in the league, maybe the best ever.
Right, but he puts in the work, so he can say that. So I would respect Ohtani to say I'm better than everybody, but his attitude, he doesn't. He'll actually say he's actually a pretty good player. He's we're equals. You know what I mean? Not because he's dumbing himself down, but he's a little bit more humble and meek, and just wants to go out and play ball. Versus Jazz Chisholm, who's a little bit more eccentric, I'll say, and is in New York. So in New York, you gotta be puffed up because New Yorkers, let's call it what it is. New Yorkers talk ish. So yeah, it's like and that's what our kids are following. Like, oh man, he's talking all this ish. Yeah, I'm this thing too.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that the kids will see that and think that that's what they're supposed to be. But like, I want professional sports. To me, I compare it to a boxing match. You can't go into a boxing match thinking the other guy is better than you. If you lost already.
Yeah, but I get
this box thinking the pitcher is better than you as a hitter. Like every pitcher thinks they can strike out any hitter. Every hitter thinks they can hit any pitcher.
1,000%.
Like, oh, this guy's like, and I'll give you an example, and this is a fun example. All-Star game, I forgot what year it was. John Kruk steps into the box against Randy Johnson.
Yeah.
Scared to death, and what happened? He struck out and looked terrible doing it.
Right.
Because he didn't have that confidence to face Randy Johnson. Looked terrible doing it. If you don't have that confidence, forget it.
Right. And I get that, but
it's good to have confidence and be able to back it up. Don't have the confidence and go out there and stink it up. I get that. I understand. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying I need my players to have that confidence.
Right. And I agree with you. All the examples that you just gave about, I want to go there. I'm going to believe that I'm going to do this. Believing is in here and it's in here, not here. Not all the time, in my opinion. You know what I mean? But if you are going to talk, you have to back it up. And that's my problem is that there's too many talkers and not enough.
It becomes here when people ask you. I'm just saying, like,
I agree. But
Marlon says, do you think analytics is the issue offensively?
Yes and no.
Because you have some very good opinions with analytics, about analytics, excuse me.
I say yes and no. Analytics, I say this 1,000 times, is not new. Analytics goes back to like the 50s, the 60s, whatever. It goes. I think the first manager to really be successful with using numbers and sunshine versus the rain, cold, playing in the north versus the south was Earl Weaver, who was a longtime coach here in Baltimore. I think he was a manager for almost like 18 years here. He was the one that had that long argument with that umpire for like 10 minutes that I showed you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but he was the first one to actually um, play his players based on whether they can hit better on turf or grass. See, he knew some of his players were better in day games than night games. Stuff like that. So this stuff isn't new, but they're supposed to, all the analytical data that we get is supposed to be a guide. And a lot of times, like who was the coconut guy that was the manager for the Phils?
Oh, Gabe Kapler.
Gabe Kapler, coconut
It's
oil.
funny because I never remember his name, and you always have to tell me. This time I had to tell you. But
And
go
I
ahead.
always tell him the coconut guy, and you always remember because you know what coconut oil does. How about that? Squeaky, squeaky. So, um, he lived and died by analytics, and I believe that there was a chart that opened up like a encyclopedia menu for the Waffle House. It folded out into like 20 sheets. He had all these things, whatever, whatever. And he is responsible for the reason why baseball was long as crap. He was responsible for managing the longest regular season game in Major League history, the longest a full 9 inning Major League game. I think it was like 5 hours and 20 minutes
Mhm.
because of all of the changes that he made. He wound up messing up a bullpen switch. It was horrendous. But that was a manager that lived and died by analytics. Joe Madden, right? He was on um, the Cubs when they finally won the World Series, right?
Mhm.
He lived and died by it, but when it came to the playoffs, he's the only manager that I've seen that actually made adjustments based on what was actually going on. Because when they were playing when they were playing Cleveland in that World Series, remember Cleveland was up. I'm sorry, yeah, it was a back and forth game. The Cubs were actually up in the ninth, and then he brought in his closer, and then he gave it a home run, and then the title went into extra innings. So he had to manage after that, and he did a great job doing it as a manager because analytics doesn't account for emotion. It doesn't account for certain situations, and analytics is literally base to base. It takes away. It doesn't want you to take chances, so that's why stolen bases went down. Bunting was an absolute no no. Analytics hate sacrificing. You know what I mean? So it took away all the nuances of the game. And that's why it turned into junk. And that's why now baseball is backtracking with the defensive shift change. Now you can't shift. There's a rumor that they don't want the outfielders to play the no doubles defense anymore. They're going to introduce that into play.
Are you
Uh,
serious?
it's in discussion, but whatever. Um,
Well,
so and then they make the bases bigger because they now want stolen bases again. So it was like all the stuff that they took away, all the stuff that analytics took away outside, ruined the game, made it absolutely atrocious to watch. And now they're backtracking and want to go back to it, but they don't want to hurt people's feelings, for lack of a
analytics
better
has
term.
made real baseball fans not want to watch baseball, and has kept the casual fan away from watching baseball.
You know what? It makes me want to watch college baseball a lot more. I love watching college softball.
Mhm.
I saw one of the top two teams. I think the top five teams play each other like a couple of weeks ago. It might have been like Vandy versus like UNC, for instance. And I saw like 12 bunts because they were playing to win. I saw three hit and runs. It's like what? That's baseball.
There
It's
was
the
there was I think you shared it. There was a video out where there was a team. I think it was it the Royals? I forgot what it was, but they bunted like 3 times in a row.
Oh, it was the Brewers.
The Brewers. Thank you.
They bunted 3 times in a row, and one of them was a safety squeeze, so they got the run home. And it caused all this havoc because I think the catcher threw it away, and then the other one, nobody was covering.
Mhm.
You know what's worse though? A lot of these travel teams, and of course, I was a coach of a travel team, but it was one of these teams that they were called like I don't know, for lack of a better term, they were, let's say, they're their macho ball sacks, right? So there were a team of players that they handpick, these super teams or whatever, and they were playing a team that was beneath them, so to speak, or not as good. And that team lost because number one, they couldn't hit a curveball, and number two, I think that the opposing team bunted like 7 times and they never got an out.
Mm.
So of course, the tough guy coach was like, well, they were scared to swing the bat, so that's why they did. It's like, dude, you don't know how to bunt. You don't know how to teach bunt defense. Nobody knew how to cover. You didn't see it coming because listen, you just want to bloop in a blast. That's all you wanted to do. So
Earlier, you spoke about some MLB rule change considerations. There was one in particular that you wanted to bring up.
this was this kind of it came up on my feed maybe like a week or two ago. Somebody came up with an idea for a one more rule change in regards to the DH, and I just wanted to pose the question and see what you thought. So this person said if they were in charge, they would add one more rule, and the rule would state that when a team lifts their starting pitcher, takes starting pitcher out of the game, they lose the DH for the rest of the game. They believe that it will improve the game by incentivizing organizations to develop pitchers, not just throwers. I mean, that should be happening anyway. But the strategy comes back into baseball with the double switch. You please the DH fan and the non DH fan. Most importantly, we will start to have starting pitchers who are stars again, starters who go deep into games, creating those marquee pitching matchups. So there's no more quote unquote opening pitchers and no more bullpen games. So I present that idea to you. What are your thoughts?
No, sir, I don't like it, and I'll tell you why. Now, to me, as a National League City person, the the DH rule, the DH position is its own position now. It's its own spot in the batting order. Pitchers no longer bat unless your name is Shohei Ohtani. Your pitcher can be the DH, as in the case of Shohei Ohtani. Um, but I guess what this person is saying is true on its head. Causing the double switches and things like that. But what happens when your pitcher has a bad outing in the first inning? Right now you're going to have to you got to take this person out, and now you got pitchers going into bat, I guess, and then I guess um, you're going to bat for your pitcher, and then you got to take that pitcher out. If you're going to do that, I think you're going to have more bench players now. If you're going to do that, it just feels to me because if you have a team, I guess if you have a team that's really rallying and your position comes up every 1 to 2 innings.
Mhm.
I guess you can afford to keep the pitcher in there, but I'm not feeling that because I guess because I like the DH rule now. I kind of like having to pay attention to 9 batters as opposed to going to get my beer when the pitcher's up and coming back and it's already on commercial. Um, Maybe you can change some things around the DH. Like there are a lot of things I still don't understand about the D. Like you can still lose the DH now, but I just don't understand certain things around the DH. I didn't grow up in a DH city. I grew up in a National League city. So, that rule, I don't know if people that grew up in DH cities understand the DH rule better than I do, but
Well, remember for when Otani started doing his thing, they called it the Otani rule.
what was it?
So basically, you don't lose the DH. So like, if he were to like so in the past, the DH was its own position. Like you couldn't like if you started out in right field, you can't all of a sudden be the DH,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
With Otani, you could. So you don't lose the DH. So it became more of like a floating thing. But that rule only applied literally to him, but they created the rule for other future pitchers like him.
Mhm.
So he could theoretically, once he pitches like 6 or 7 innings, then he can go play right field and not have to, relinquish his position or lose lose the DH.
Okay. I mean, it's just it's a thought from somebody. We could talk more about that another time. Marlon Booker says removing the pitcher from the batter's box took away the strategic part. Bringing in the DH has not made offenses better. It's actually gotten worse across the league. That's something I did not know. I would assume that it's gotten better just because you have 9 legitimate hitters in your lineup per se.
Right. I mean, and it does force you to use the bench. But I think the only issue is that you had what 80% of pitchers batting like old 92. Like you said,
Right.
it was a free out.
Mhm.
But like the Phillies now have Justin Crawford in the 9th spot, who's not doing terrible. It's just the rest of it's the 1 through 8 that's doing bad.
Rafael Marchand has been in the last. He
Oh,
was
that's
hitting
right. That's right. He was
37 or something like that. I think he's
and
batting
Mark,
like 037 or something crazy like that.
dude. Every game I've seen Martin Koch, he gets a hit. I'm like, so when I'm there, he's batting like
You
684.
ain't,
Okay.
you ain't been seeing him lately. You ain't been seeing him. I think he got a home run this year. I think he has a home run, and I think that's the only hit he has all season.
Yeah, and it was
As
funny.
of, as of the start of the game last night, I don't know what he did last night.
It's funny because he had a reputation for not hitting well in the minors, but then every time he got called up, he would hit.
A home run. He
Yeah.
would.
Um,
Um,
One person I'm actually excited about is they called up Felix Reyes, and I
saw that last night.
and his first MLB at bat, he hit a home run. He's tearing it up in the minor leagues, and I'm glad that they called him up. I'm like, finally, one of the things that Dallas Green did in 1980 to help the Phillies get over the hump to win their first World Series was he called up the young guys. So he had Gary Maddox, the Secretary of Defense in center field, right?
Mhm.
They had kind of a spat, so he decided, all right, well, I'm gonna call up a center fielder, Del Unser, and he's gonna take your spot. Like he had Lonnie Smith in left field competing with Greg Luzinski. He had Keith Moreland behind the plate competing with Bob Boone. So he created those instances of competition. So now the veterans are like, wait a minute, this guy's behind me, like outplaying me, and I gotta pick it up a little. And I think that's really what took them over the edge. I think that's what the Phillies need right now. You gotta start calling up some of these young guys and say, look, if you can't do it anymore, we'll pay you the money to sit. Get this guy up here, and he'll be glad.
They won't pay them the money to sit. They won't
That's
bring
the problem.
guys, and they won't do it. Let's move on real quick. The Sixers were in the play-in game and won. So we were going to talk about that last week, but no need. Now they're all tied up in the playoff series with the Boston Celtics. They hated Boston. Philadelphia hates the Boston Celtics.
Oh, I did Boston.
Um, Series tied. They lost the first game by like 32 or something crazy. And then they won last night by 12, 13, something like that. I forgot what it was. But VJ Edgecombe, rookie VJ Edgecombe had 30 points last night. Tyrese Maxey had 29 points last night. An amazing night for them. The Celtics just could not knock shots down. I'm happy about that. Um, and they're coming back to Philadelphia. And like I said, I've told people I feel like the Sixers are going to shock the world in this series. Now that I've said it on the show, it's not going to happen. But that was my feeling. The Sixers were shocked. I didn't think they would win the first game. I thought they would come back and win the next two. Maybe lose the next one after that, and then they would win the next two after that. So basically, what I'm saying is Sixers and 6. That's basically what I'm saying. I got the Sixers and 6. Also, the Flyers are in the playoffs, and they are up. They're actually playing right now, but they are up in the series against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Almost said Steelers.
The hated
Hated Pittsburgh Penguins. 2-0. They went out to Pittsburgh and stole home ice.
And the Flyers are up 3-1 in the third period.
Looking good. I just thought about something, Miguel.
Sir.
The Eagles, like you hate the Cowboys, you hate the Giants, and I guess we hate Washington too, right? I guess just because of,
What?
but it don't feel that way, right? It feel Giants and Cowboys is what we really feel. Washington when they're good, you know. Phillies, it's the Mets, and it's kind of become the Braves, but that's kind of really it. The Sixers, it's the Celtics, and I guess the Knicks. I don't think Brooklyn is there yet. Washington's never there. But the Flyers, right? I think about the Flyers. You got the Penguins, you got the Rangers, you got the Devils, and I feel like I'm forgetting somebody.
I mean, those are the big three. It used to be that
They're like legitimately hated by Flyers fans, like legitimately hated. There's no little bit about it. They're the Penguins, the Rangers, and the Devils. Like, how do you just have 3 big time rivals that you just like fan bases hate each other?
I mean, what helps it is that sport you're allowed to fight, So I think that
The Bruins.
the Bruins, yeah, Boston Bruins.
Yeah, the
And
Bruins.
it's funny because you could name you really hate Pittsburgh because of Sidney Crosby. And he was acting like, the kiddish Sidney Crosby.
Don't forget before that, Mario Lemieux.
And Mario Lemieux and Jeremy Jagger. And I don't know if you ever remember this. Jeremy Jagger. He was
Yager, yes.
Jeremy. I always said Jeremy. I don't like to pronounce people's names.
Jagger. But he ended up playing for the Flyers.
Very, and I think he just retired too. He played until he was like 48.
Yeah, he played very late.
Do you remember? This was like late '90s when the Flyers would play the Penguins. That whenever Jaromir Jagr would actually touch the puck, the whole venue would start to whistle.
Yeah,
there we go. Yeah. Do you remember why?
I don't remember why. I just know that whistling is like the European boo.
So the reason why they do that is because he's very, very white and he had rosy cheeks. So they were catcalling him.
Oh, okay. I got you. And the Penguins they had 2 stars back then, Jaromir Jagr and Mario Lemieux.
Mm-hmm.
They had 2 stars back
but
then.
They had some pretty good. I mean, they won 2 Stanley Cups, and I think with with Crosby, I think they won. I think he's won 2 or 3.
Is that many? Wow. Let's move on real quick to the Eagles. I was about to say the Sixers. We already did that. The Eagles. A couple weeks ago, we were going to talk about this last week. They traded for Dontayvion Wicks, wide receiver.
Yo, I'm sorry. When I heard that name, it sounded like the bit on Key and Peele. Octavian Thundersplash.
Yeah, I kind of got that feeling too. I kind of got that vibe with that. Which I mean, they picked up like 3 receivers in this offseason.
And people are like, all right, this means that AJ's gone. I'm like, but the Eagles do this every year.
Cut most of them every year.
They cut most of them, right? Or they'll keep, because that's how we got Dotson. You know what I mean? He was our number 3, but he was 3 in a field of like 6 or 7 that the Eagles would always invite to camp. So
and it was the Johnny. I forgot his name. The one guy, Johnny something. I forgot it. The real tall one. I think he's still around too. But I say all this to say that Adam Schefter, the NFL insider, NFL insider Adam Schefter. Actually, I guess he is the ESPN NFL insider. He's reporting what all of us have been hearing for a while, and from Diana. What's her name? Why did it slip out of my head? Diana.
Vanderschmut. I don't.
I,
The one that was sleeping with the coach.
the one that's the one with the that had the little scandal right now. Anyway, it's saying that a trade, AJ Brown trade to the Patriots is inevitable, and it'll probably happen. It won't happen. He's saying it's probably not going to happen during the draft, which the draft starts tomorrow. Real quick note: I didn't know until today that Daryl Dawkins' son is, I believe, a lineman, and he is in the NFL draft. So
Nice.
shout out to him. Daryl Dawkins, for those that don't know, former Sixer, Chocolate Thunder, may he rest in peace. Um, Saying that the trade is inevitable, but it won't happen until after June 1st. And I believe a report has come out saying that AJ Brown will not be at Eagles OTAs. So, with all that coming out, it's the OTA thing that, for me, if there's, it's kind of like Nick Castellanos when they asked him not to show up to spring training. That's kind of what it feels like to me. And I know you're still standing on what you're standing on, saying that they're messing with the media, but it's really starting to not feel that way anymore. I still hope you're right, but at the same time, if you are right, AJ needs to really step his game up and make things happen this season. I just put it to you like that. Just say it like that. Um, Real quick, I just want to put this real quick note out there. Brian Dawkins, Eagles legend, NFL Hall of Famer. Brian Dawkins is he could be suspended from coaching. I don't know how long or what the case may be, but I'll just read this to you guys real quick. A wave of emotion sweeping through Philadelphia as Eagles legend Brian Dawkins faces suspension from coaching after assisting high school players and the decision after assisting high school players. The decision is sparking outrage across the community. What was meant to uplift young athletes has now turned into a controversial ruling that many believe crosses the line. This isn't just about rules, it's about values. Fans, former players, and local supporters are rallying behind Dawkins, arguing that his actions reflected leadership, mentorship, and commitment to the next generation. Instead of celebration, the moment has turned into a debate over fairness and intent. Now the Philadelphia community is making its voice heard, demanding justice for one of the most respected figures in Eagle history. What started as a quiet act of support has become a powerful movement that's growing louder by the day. And Brian Dawkins was quoted as saying, "I wasn't trying to break rules. I was trying to help kids who needed it. If making sure they're safe, fed, and ready to play is wrong, then maybe the rule needs to be looked at. I'll stand on that every time." And that's that's unfortunate because I know earlier this year we saw Teddy Bridgewater, former NFL quarterback, get in trouble for kind of the same thing. Kind of, so he was helping some kids out that needed some help, some assistance, and he was suspended from his coaching duties. So I was once told about. I was once. I don't want to mess this up, and I know I'm about to. Things are supposed to be equal, but they're not always equitable. And I hope I'm using that correctly. Um, there are a lot of high school teams out there that would not, where a player would not need any type of assistance from anyone, and they can handle their own business. Not every high school team has that advantage. Um, You and I know this, firsthand. There are people that are more fortunate than others, and I agree with Brian Dawkins that the rule needs to be looked at. The rule definitely needs to be looked at. Um, because I mean, sometimes if you give a kid $1 to get something from the store, I'm gonna say $1. Let's say you give them $10 to get a sandwich from the store because they're hungry. You helping the kid out, but you can get in trouble for that. It just ain't right. It just ain't right. Ardot says fair and equitable are not the same thing. That's the challenge. That is the challenge.
It is.
That is the challenge. Um, Real quick, you wanted to talk about this rule. Am I correct, or did you want to? What did you want to do there? Because I
I
know we
mean,
got.
we can kind of run through it since we're talking about fair and equitable. The NCAA is proposing a hard age based rule, so it's a what is it, a five in five rule. So they're considering creating a strict 5 year eligibility window starting from an athlete's 19th birthday or high school graduation, whichever is earlier. So this proposal aligns with recent executive order discussions, which seeks to eliminate most red shirts, most waivers, and extensions, allowing only limited exceptions for military service, religious missions, or maternity. So the key cogs in this particular proposal are the eligibility period starting 19 or high school graduation. So the athletes have 5 years to complete their eligibility. So this is often referred to as 5 years to play 5 years, 5 years to play 5 seasons model. So the limitations are the proposal aims to remove the quote unquote gray area of current waivers and red shirts, creating a more black and white system. Um, the exceptions are expected to be limited to extraordinary circumstances like we just mentioned. So they're hopefully it's an ongoing cabinet thing as of this middle month, but the potential shift aims to bring more structure to college sports and reduce the subjectivity in the current waiver process.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting to see. I'm going to keep my eye on this. I hope like this doesn't lead to like more lawsuits and all that craziness. Um, but here's what I will say, and I don't know if it pertains to this rule or not, but I was thinking about this in the car the other day. The NCAA, their big sports are football and basketball. Right there, those are the money making sports for just about every program across this country. NCAA has a problem, has a sports problem. Okay, and there's people that love college football. They will watch college football to the day they die, and I get it. College football college football is culture in some areas, like your Alabamas, your Mississippis, your Louisianas. Like it's culture in some places. With the transfer portal and with all the things that happen in college sports, I'm not saying college sports sucks now. What I'm saying is college sports as a product sucks now. It's not fun to watch anymore. Um, the NCAA tournament just passed, right?
Mhm.
I think I was a little more interested in the first weekend of the first 2 weekends of the tournament than I was the final. Right? I watched the final. Don't get me wrong, but I was more so interested in the first two just because of the upsets. I wanted to see teams get upset. And you don't see it as much now because the transfer portal people move here and there, whatever the case may be. Um, Football, you have the same deal in football. People leaving schools after a year because they didn't play or they think they can get more money or whatever the case may be. It's ruining the product. You have to you kind of have to do what you do in pro sports now as a fan. You just have to connect with the name on the front of the jersey and not the name on the back anymore. I'll give you a good example, real quick example. I'm a North Carolina Tar Heels basketball fan. There was a kid on Michigan's basketball team this year, on the national championship team this year, who was on North Carolina's basketball team last year as a freshman. After playing last year, he up and left, went to Michigan, won the national championship. Good for him. A couple years ago, when North Carolina was in the finals and he lost to Kansas, they had a freshman come in that was a really good freshman. He came in. He actually came off the bench and played. The following year, he transferred, I believe, to Arizona. So you can't really connect a lot of times with some of these players because they're looking for their advantage. They're looking for, and I can't be mad at them either because the NCAA has used these athletes since the beginning of money being introduced into NCAA sports. Oh, he said I wasn't interested in March Madness because UNC got bounced early. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. I wasn't that interested in UNC this year. Unfortunately, I know they had one of the top freshmen, but I wasn't really that interested in UNC this year. I just didn't see them as being that good. I felt like the coach was probably going to get fired at the end of the year. Had results not been what they needed to be, and he did. So it is what it is. Now that I'm getting off my soapbox, we got some videos, right?
Yep. And we'll save the enhanced games for next week since that is still a month
Oh, I'm
away.
sorry. I thought that was part of. I'm sorry.
No, no, no. So what we'll table for next week. There's this event that's coming up that's called the Enhanced Games.
Okay.
It's basically it's set to take place at the on May 21st to 24th, and it basically is going to be an event that will allow athletes to use performance enhancing substances. So we
I want
can
to see baseball.
uh
I want to see baseball being played.
absolutely.
I do not want to see people using enhancements and playing Australian rules football. That could be brutal.
Yeah, you're gonna see a lot of death and murder there.
That could be brutal. I don't want to see it.
All right, so I put up some names of videos. So let me know a couple that you want to see or a few that you want to see based on the name, based on the title.
Let's go with that first one. Got him.
All right. All right. So it's uploaded.
You just want me to go ahead and
So this is a women's softball with a heads up move by the catcher.
Snap throw down the third.
Kelsey Mapp is not expecting this at all. She juked her.
that was nasty. That was nasty. I like that. That was yeah.
That was smooth.
I was thinking about that at practice day. Like, can I teach my catcher how to do that? Can I said no, he's a freshman. I'll wait.
All right. Next one.
So let's go with the next one is going to be Takedown Cry. I feel like you were hoping I picked that one.
Because I think we all have felt this way at some point. It's an old video. It's been out for a little bit, but I just always love the ending of it because it's children martial arts.
All right, let's see what we got.
I've got no roof, but my home was never on the ground. I've got no roof.
Yeah, he was mad. He was mad.
That's definitely how I would have reacted. I'm sorry.
I've been there. I've been there. All right, one more. Let's go with Indie Face.
right. So this is a wild pitch.
Okay. Woo. Yeah, that's gonna swell. That's gonna swell.
A little bit. Because I think you heard it hit the flesh first and then the helmet.
Yeah.
That one's gonna tickle.
All right, and okay, I'm not in the chat, and phones are off, and it's time for Miguel to stump me.
Yes. If I can get this screen to work like I want it to. Share. All right, here we go. We're gonna do this, and then we're gonna move you to here in case he has hacked my computer. All right.
Case, who hacked your computer?
Let's do this one. All right, here we go.
All righty, here we go. Somebody with no accolades.
He has accolades.
It's a one-time All-Star. I gotta look around at things. One-time All-Star. Looks like he played for the. Just tell me.
All right, finally, he played for the New York Mets, the Baltimore Orioles, the Tampa Bay Rays.
Is this in order?
No. I'm saying it in order, but the numbers probably are not.
Okay, gotcha. Start over.
Okay. You want me to say it in the number based on the numbers on the screen?
Well, I just wanted to be in order. Just tell me in order of what team he played for, first, second, third, like that.
All right. The Mets, the Pirates, the Rays, the Astros, Colorado Rockies, the Phillies, and the St. Louis Cardinals.
We have already had Greg Jeffries, but I'm gonna say Greg Jeffries.
Absolutely.
Every week. All right. Oh, let me move my camera a little bit so I can. Or number 24 for the Phillies. Can you give me a time frame of the career? I know he had to play in the 90s and 2000s. It wasn't in the 80s. Well,
he played in the mid 2000s. I want to say he was done around maybe 2018.
And it was the Phillies, and then who?
The Cardinals. St. Louis Cardinals was his last team.
Can you tell me the position?
Yes.
What is it?
All of them.
Is he a utility player or he
yes,
played every position?
Utility. So his primary, I would say, would be first, but he played utility. He was pretty much a utility guy.
No. Galarraga.
What?
Andres Galarraga.
Really?
He played for the Braves, didn't he? He played for the no. So
he played for the Braves in Colorado, but no other team on the list.
Okay, I mean,
and he definitely never played for the Phillies.
Galarraga didn't. I thought he spent a year with the Phillies.
Never. We would have won if he was with us.
First, a journeyman first baseman that is a one-time All-Star, a journeyman utility first baseman that is a one-time All-Star. Can you tell me when he played for the Phillies?
No, I'm joking. I want to say it was during the off years, so I would say 15, 16.
Did he play first base for the Phillies?
He was a utility dude. He played it all.
But I'm just saying, like, did he come off the bench or was he a starter?
Yes. So he would be the type that like he wasn't a start. He wasn't a starter, but he played multiple positions. But he probably would play 5 to 6 days a week.
Wow. And who was that after the Phillies? That was the Nationals?
No, St.
Who was
Louis
that?
Cardinals.
Cardinals after the Phillies? Utility. Were the Cardinals any good after 15-16? Colorado. Is he white?
Yes.
I feel like I want to say Todd something. It's not Todd Helton. Ah, man. Does his name start with a T?
It does.
It does? Oh, wow. Okay. That tells me nothing. It's not Todd Helton, is it?
No.
Oh, Tony. I can't even think of names that start with T right now, except for Todd and Tony.
And Mr. T? No, I'm joking.
Tom. Tracy. You got me. I have no idea. I have no clue. And don't even say who it is. Just show me the picture, and I'll tell you if I even know who this person is. Just put the picture up first. Ty Wingington.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember him playing for the Phillies.
Yeah, I think he was. They were trying to transition out of Darren Ruff. Remember that dude?
Yeah.
He was supposed to be our first baseman in the future and didn't pan out.
Wow. And he's running over a catcher. My, how things have changed.
My, how things have changed. There's actually a better one. I can't remember.
Wait a minute. I don't even. What made you even? You know what? No, because I don't want to know your thought process behind picking people. But like, how did this guy pop up in your Rolodex?
I remember actually liking him because he was actually a pretty good pinch hitter for us. Just nothing else. But I don't know. He was like that everyman's kind of like, he was like, he was rugged and he just did his job. He
was a ball
player.
player.
What I mean? He was a ball player. You know what I mean? He had his limitations, but he was like our buddy Brian, he loves like Luis Soto. Remember him?
Mm-hmm.
So he was a journeyman, but he was on those Yankees championship teams, and he was like, he was shaped like a stack of towels that were wet. You know what I mean? He wasn't God's gift to women, that's for sure. But he was a ball player. Like, he would give all the other infielders a day off or whatever, but when he played his heart out, So
Okay. All right. Well, you got me.
yes, sir. The streak is over.
The streak is over. I still gotta give you $5 for the charity for the Vision Select guys.
I believe if you go onto the website, there's a link on how to donate. So
I could donate straight to the organization.
yeah.
Okay, maybe I'll do that then.
Yeah, the link is in our notes, so you got it there.
All right, cool. Any last words before we get up out of here?
To the ball players out there that are, to our young ball players, like, this start doing the work. You know what I mean? Let's just start doing the work.
All right. Hey, I'm going to leave it at that. Look, we're going to get up out of here. We appreciate y'all hanging with us here on the Check Swing Podcast with myself. And, of course, my man, Coach Santa, who's down in
Baltimore, having big fun.
We'll talk to you probably next week right here on New Choice Radio. Make sure you subscribe to the New Choice Radio YouTube channel where all of our shows are housed, as well as following us on Instagram and all that good stuff. So for Miguel and myself, we're going to get up out of here. We appreciate y'all hanging with us. We'll talk to y'all next time on the Check Swing Podcast. Peace.